Hey Vixens, welcome back to Nirali's Visuals, and today's visual is going to be a makeup tutorial. If you want to know what I did to achieve this look, continue watching and let's just jump right in. So for shade number one, I'm going to be tapping into that beautiful beige shade, and that is going to serve as my transition. And this is where I'm going to be putting it. I'm going to be putting it above my crease, more so near my eyebrows, and this is just to get rid of that stark difference from the primer that I laid down. And it's not such a harsh line of demarcation from eyebrow to my eyelid. And while I'm packing this, I'm using a blending brush. For me, precisely because I've been doing this for a while and I know my eyes, I just like using larger blending brushes. But for someone who's just starting, I would recommend just a smaller blending brush, not something that's so big. Now with this, I'm going to be packing and then swiping. For shade number two, I'm going to be tapping into that beautiful maroon shade, and I'm going to be going in with a blending brush as well. And I'm going to be applying that on the outer third and bringing that a bit halfway. And this is going to be underneath our first shade, and that will be our defining shade as our depth. So I'm going to be packing and then I'm going to be blending out. I typically like to use blending brushes with this because it's best of both worlds. I get to pack my shadows and blend at the same time, and this should be what your eyes should look like. Now with the remainder of that maroon shade on the brush, I'm going to be sweeping that more so inwards, so it should be a nice gradient from light to dark. Now for our third shade, I'm going to be going in with a more so stiffer blending brush with a bit long bristles that's more straight up and not so sparsed out. And I'm going to be bringing that inwards on the inner third, and I'm going to be blending that out because I found that it was way too intense. But you can still see that there's a color difference. You can see that it's orange, a bit orange, or a bit rustic, and then it's more so maroon and red. Now I'm going to be going into an orange shade and blending that out with the e.l.f. cut crease brush, and I'm going to be blending out that maroon shade, bringing a nice blend to it so it's not so harsh between that orange and the maroon. And I'm also going to be using windshield wiper motions. So think of if you're washing a window or window and you're using smaller motions, you're going to be applying that same technique to your eye. But because I feel like I lost that maroon shade, I'm going to be going into that same blending brush and packing that color back in. Now I'm going to use that same transition shade that we used at the very beginning and just washing that out because I found some of it way too intense. Now during this process, you're going to find that you're going to be doing a lot of back and forth blending between shades. So you're going to be using your transition as a blender. You're also going to be using your second shade as a blender, and then you'll just be doing that until you find the amount of color payoff that you are pleased with. So that is what I'm doing here. Now I'm going to be taking a makeup wipe and a silicone applicator tool, and I'm going to be using that to help cut my crease. Now with this, you can see the demarcation from my lid and the rest of my hood, or the upper lid and my lower lid. So I'm going to be cutting above that where the yellow line is. That is exactly where I'm going to be cutting my crease. I'm going to be going above that line of demarcation because we want to be able to see our makeup look or our eye look once we look straight forward. If you do to one eye, you're going to do to the other. It's just that simple. With cut creases, I think you should just go fast, and it's a lot easier because you're using a makeup wipe and you're not just going straight in with the primer. And yeah, my nostrils were all up in the camera, sorry. So do you see how big of a difference that was? You saw how it was just a nice clean space. But now I'm going to be taking my eye primer. You can even use concealer, and I'm also be going into a crease brush with this. And for this, you just want to trace and fill. That's all we're doing here. We already created our shape, so now all we're going to do is just trace the shape and fill it in. That is all. You can start from the bottom, you can start from the top, but just trace and fill. And don't think too much about this because you can always go back in and fix the crease how you'd like. But also don't put too much pressure on yourself if you don't get it right the first time, the second time, the third time. Like, it's okay. I just want this video to serve as a guide for anyone who has like hooded eyes. This is not some type of like definite rule of thumb that you should be definitely going by, because there's multitude of ways to get a cut crease, especially if you have hooded eyes. Now, my tip to you is, or a suggestion would be to lift your eyebrows up and tilt your head back so you can get a nice even lid space. What you saw me do just now was just take a Real Techniques crease brush and just take off some of that excess product so it's not so heavy around my eye. Now, this is how your eye should look. A nice stark difference from shadow and primer. Now I'm going to be going in with the same crease brush, and we're going to be tapping into that beautiful shimmer shade, and this is going to be in our inner third. So with shimmers, I typically tend to swipe or pat depending on the formula. So you can just swipe the shape or pat the shape in. You're just going to be following the shape of the crease. We already did the hard work. All we have to do is just fill it in. Now with the shimmer, you want to take this a bit, not too far out, because we are going to be placing other colors, but you still want to pack enough to where you can still see it. Now for shade number 2, I'm going to be taking that beautiful rustic orange and applying that right after shade number 1, which is our shimmer. And this is where I mentioned tilting your head back and raising your eyebrows so you can get the most lid space. Now I'm just going to be patting this eyeshadow shade, and this is going to be a nice gradient from shade 1 to shade 2, or from shimmer to matte. Now you're going to find yourself packing shimmer and matte just to get a nice gradient between the two, and it's not so harsh. That is okay. Now for shade number 3, we're going to be taking that beautiful maroon shade that we used in the beginning, and we're going to be packing that on the outer third. And we're going to be using the same brush that we used with that orange shade as well. And we're also going to be bringing that in, just so it's a nice gradient. Can you see the gradient? I don't know if you can. Hopefully it's good. I will try my best next time to make sure it's a bit more in depth and closer. But if you can, this is what you would want ideally: a beautiful transition from shimmer to matte, or from light to dark. Now what you see here is me going back into that rustic shade and bringing back the color, since we lost it because we were packing that deep dark shade. Now this is where we're also going to be blending back and forth between shade 2 and shade 3, or our orange and our maroon. And this is what it should look like after all of that blending. We're going to be taking an angled eyebrow brush and defining that crease, giving a nice emphasis. Now this is where I'm going to be taking that brush that we used at the very beginning as our transition, and just going to be washing it over the top of that so it's not so intense. And this is just final touch-ups. This is where I'm just going to be placing shadow where I see fit, or in case I missed any spots that were white, and I'm filling that in. And this is what your eye should look like. So I went ahead and did my eyes and my eyeliner off camera and my full face, and we are complete. That's all for this visual. Thanks for hanging out with me, Vixens. But remember, big dreams start with small steps, and I'll see you in the next one. But as for now, later.